Hi everyone, no major news today, so let's get straight into the data. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Looking at the Fear and Greed Index, we ended up at a 40 for the day. 42 was the previous read. A week ago we were at a 40, so really nothing has changed. We've been chopping sideways. Did look a little bit more bearish here today. You can see S&Ps took a slight dip low, but we are still very much in this bullish structure. Strength and breadth continue to signal extreme fear, while the put-call ratio is in greed as well as market volatility in neutral. And then looking at bonds, safe haven demand and junk bond demand, both in fear. So really no change, still mixed markets across the board. Moving over to seasonality, you can see sideways choppy markets is what we expected, and that is what we got. We actually got a little bit more of a decline than this indicator says. Should have been basically flat from the previous day. And we'll see if this holds up for the Friday session. Supposed to be flat through the end of the week, and then Monday markets are supposed to be a pretty big down move. Moving over to the economic calendar, you can see housing market coming in a little bit. Housing starts about 1 million less than expected. Philly Fed manufacturing also well below estimates at 1.3 versus 4.8. Atlanta Fed GDP also looking at a 3% versus a 3.1% expectation, but 5-year tips coming in right in that 2% range, which is what we want to see. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps, you can see we did get a decent rally in the pre-market, gave it all back and then some, ended up down about 0.25%. Momentum on the hourly quite bearish, and you can see huge volume on that last candle, which was also a bearish candle. 55 EMA is acting as support, that is at 546.15. That level needs to hold, otherwise we're headed to 544 and then potentially down around that 144 EMA at 540. So could be looking at about a 1.5% move down for tomorrow's session if this area starts to break. And then you can see here on the daily chart, continuing to grind along that trend line. Hit it again, fell from that level, and now you can see momentum stepping to bearish for the first time in a while. We'd been swinging to bullish since the 4th, got a step down here on the 20th, and we'll see if that has a little bit of follow through into tomorrow's session or potentially the next couple trading days, which does fit with the seasonality thesis of some bearishness coming in next week. Moving over to the Tasty charts, you can see really no change. Hit that upper ATR band, 548.89, and then you can see we did pull back a little bit, almost touched that 8 EMA at 543. Second ATR band, 544, so right in that same range. Did see some volume come through for the first time in a while on that selling candle, which is not great. Momentum still says bullish though. And then looking at the 4-hour chart, you can see we touched that ATR stop. That's at 545.17. If that level breaks, you're probably headed to the lower ATR band, which is down around that 540 area. So again, that would fit with the 1.5% down move potential. You can also see volume coming through on that candle. So definitely some selling, but nothing crazy in terms of structural change. Moving over to the NASDAQ, very similar thesis, gapped higher, gave it all back, fell pretty much straight throughout the session. The low of day was 479.62, which is a pretty decent down move from that upper level. Almost a $10 range there, 488.24 all the way down to 479.50. But looking at that daily chart, you can see that trend line did not break. We did get a test of it, so we're at that level. As long as that level holds, we're still in good shape. The hourly chart looks a little bit worse. We're below all the short-term EMAs and SMAs, with that 144 EMA sitting all the way down at 474.37. And again, momentum taking a step towards bearish, something that we have not seen basically throughout June. Moving over to the Tasty charts here, you can see upper ATR band sitting at 481.03, and that's basically where we fell to, finishing at 481.47. Pulled back almost to that 8 EMA, also sitting at 477.16, right in that same zone. So basically very similar to the SPY, except that we are still above that upper ATR. And then looking at the 4-hour chart, pretty different here. We did actually get into bearish conditions, which is concerning. Upper ATR resistance now is at 490.07. And you can also see that volume on the 4-hour chart here on that bearish candle, closed much closer to that low of the day. Momentum is bearish, and you would expect this to pull back at least to the 478 area. And then if that level breaks, then you have the lower ATR down at 475.58. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, you can see the Russell was down 0.42. The Dow was actually positive 0.75. Dow continued its run right to the next level, 392.44, which was the price target. Momentum is bullish there as well. Next price target would be 398.75 if that level breaks on a closing basis, which we did not see. And then looking at the Russell here, gap down, fell through that trend line, threw a big wick up to that 201.88 area, and then pulled back from that level. Momentum still looks okay, but RSI is bearish, so mixed signals. You can see this continues to trend lower off of that SMA, so that's not great. But as long as this 198.75 level holds, and then that 144 EMA sitting at 198.97, as long as that zone is good, then we'll be in good shape going into tomorrow's session. Just a little bit of a pullback. Want to see this consolidation hold in this zone. Moving over to stocks that moved today, we got Gilead up about 8.5%. Massive volume there. Clear breakout from this trend line back above the short-term EMAs. This has been a pretty decent down move. You can see it topped out around 87.47, bottomed out around 62.72. Now we've got a big break higher here. You could argue that this trend line is still intact. It's just a parallel off of this previous high. No other points of contact along that trend, but we're very close to it now. If this breaks and starts to push higher, I think 76.90 is in play. Need to get above that 200 SMA, which is sitting at 74.08. And then you can see AMD, decent move here, 4.62%. They put in a low here at the beginning of May. Consolidated, dipped, but this 157.50 level continues to hold. After the retest on Monday and Tuesday, got back above it. It is in the middle of this consolidation of EMAs, and it did touch the next level at 165.36, but if we can get above this here and start to push to that 174.23 level, I think it's going to be in play. Again, you got ramping volume on that move, which is another indicator that there should be some follow through on this. Moving over to Microsoft and Apple, both of these were down. Apple was down quite a lot, actually, 2.15%. Momentum rolling to bearish, RSI breaking down. Very strong breakdown here. The SMA was well above the overbought condition. Now we're breaking below it. Does not look good at all. 9 EMA sitting there at 208.62. Obviously, the structure is still bullish. We're above all the EMAs and SMAs, but that's 2 big steps down. Momentum saying that this is probably headed lower. And if that's true, markets are probably going to go with it. Microsoft had a bearish day on Tuesday, and then another one here, 0.14 to the downside. 9 EMA sitting there at 438.89. And again, momentum stepping down, RSI still well above the SMA, but it is stepping down from overbought conditions, which could be a concern. Maybe we're going to pull back to this trend line down around that 436, 437 area. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA. Tesla did dip down pretty hard on the day, 1.78%. Similarly here, NVIDIA selling off quite a bit, 3.54%. And that is actually after making new all-time highs again. High of day was 140.76. So big intraday reversal candle. That is not what you want to see. You can see it here on the hourly chart, gap up and fell below the trend line now. Not great on NVIDIA. Momentum finally seems to be breaking. RSI, you can see well below the SMA there. So structurally, this is starting to see a little bit of changes. Obviously, it's NVIDIA, which has been on a rocket ship for the past several months, but this could absolutely start to break. And if NVIDIA goes, then the rest of the market is going to go with it. Tesla couldn't seem to get above that 188.50 level after testing it on Thursday of last week. It's right into this consolidation now, which is not great either. Still holding up structurally, it's above all the short-term EMAs, but we're still not seeing a major move on Tesla. Moving over to Meta and Amazon. Meta was slightly positive, 0.44, but look at Amazon here at this trend line. So we've been watching it. Overthrew it just a little bit here to my 181.44 level. And then we got a very strong candle back above all the EMAs and SMAs. Strong volume as well. Momentum back to bullish. You would expect this to push back to 188.61. And then if that level breaks, you got trend resistance up around that 194 area. That is a very good move. And I do think there's going to be some follow through on that. Meta, on the other hand, inside candle, nothing crazy. Momentum seems to be fading. RSI also below the SMA, but trended a little bit higher. The SMA is still going higher, so this could break back above and make some decent moves, but right now it doesn't look great in my opinion. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, staples still hanging in there at that 77.50 level. Still above all the EMAs and SMAs, still looks okay. Not super great, but decent. It did wick a high and then give it all back, which is not a great indicator. And then looking at discretionaries, just short of testing that level. Low of day was 180.13, my level 180.10, so you could argue that that's a touch there. And then it held that level, still positive on the day. Momentum faded a little bit, but RSI looks okay. So at this point, still looking for a 185.36 price target on discretionaries. Moving over to transports and oil and gas, you can see transports continues to find support in the 63.22 area. We hit it back here at the end of May, touched it again mid-June. Now we're rallying right back to this trend line. To me, I would say this is probably going to break on this test and push to that 64.89 level. And then you got the 55 EMA sitting up there at 65.76. And then looking at oil and gas, almost touched my next level at 140.88. So far we've had two bullish candles, but we're right at trend resistance again. If it rejects off this, we're probably going to break that 140.88 level. But right now it looks okay. Could get a break here and then push back to that 21 at 147, or potentially all the way up at the 55 at the 151.67 level. So oil and gas looking okay. And it's interesting also because oil and gas has not participated in the rally that we've been seeing on crude. Crude has been rallying decently, but oil and gas stocks have not moved with it. Speaking of oil and copper here, we got oil continues to be on this burner, broke the level at 80.97. If this continues to hold, your price target is up at $86 a barrel. Momentum very strong, RSI very strong. You can see big dip low, big rally through. You would expect that to continue. So oil continues to look very good, but oil and gas stocks have not moved with it. And then you can see copper continues to hold this trend line, pushing back towards that 21 EMA at the 4.64 level. And this is also encouraging. Oil going higher, copper going higher should be decent as an economic indicator. Moving over to RIOT and Marathon. RIOT gave back all of the gains that it's made over the past couple of days, so it's right back down into that 1042 area. 21 EMA sitting as support still at 1023, so right in the same consolidation, really no change. Still think this is probably going to push to the 200 at 1164 at some point, but really this zone needs to hold if it's going to do it. And Marathon actually looks a lot better now. After it closed above the trend line on Tuesday, gapped higher and dojied on the day, 1.87. And with that move, you would expect a continuation potentially to that next trend line in the 23 area, which would be a really solid move. RSI looks good. Momentum looks good for this to continue higher. Moving over to momentum. Momentum continues to be strong, which is interesting considering what we're seeing in markets. S&P's down, NASDAQ down, but breadth overall continuing to rally on both of these. 20-day breadth got back above 51.75, hit the 200. We'll see if we reject from there. Momentum is good. You would expect this to continue in my opinion. 87.50 is the next level. And then looking at 50-day breadth, another continuation candle, almost hitting that 52.81 level. Very close proximity on both of these actually, which is interesting. Momentum on both bullish, RSI on both bullish. So breadth continues to widen even though we saw a market pullback. Moving over to the dollar, we got an up move on the dollar. We closed above the level, so that is not good at all. So this is probably why we're seeing markets go down. Dollar positive 0.41%, closed above 105.50. With that move, your next price target would be 106.84. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. You can see pretty decent grind. Wasn't a straight up move, which is interesting. I would have liked to see a little bit more momentum on that. It seemed like there was a little bit of resistance in there. But overall, the dollar continues to look bullish, and if this continues to break higher, that's going to be bearish for equities. Moving over to the 2-year and the 10-year. 2 years, slightly positive, 0.62. Still in the same consolidation, really no change. Momentum continuing to swing to bullish a little bit on both of these. 10-year right at that 144 EMA, but still very much a downtrend. Momentum, similar. Also stepping to the bull side just a little bit. And then RSIs, both of these are above the SMA, but not by much. And the SMA is kind of flat here, so you want to see it hold and push higher if it's going to do it. Really in a holding pattern, in my opinion, with a slight bounce potential. Moving over to bonds, mixed day on bonds, inside candle, gave back all the gains from the previous day. At one point, clawed back some of that here on TLT. closed down 0.67. Momentum is bullish. RSI on both of these slightly bullish. You would really want to see it hold here and push back to that trend line up around the 94 area. But at this point, I think it could go either way. TLT, we had an up day, a down day, an up day, a down day. So consolidation, waiting for some clear direction. Moving over to volatility here, you can see the VIX getting a nice jump higher. 13.27, 7.97%, sitting at 13.27. We closed at the high, which is quite bullish. To me, that means we're going to see a little bit more of an up move towards that 14.7 area. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. We also held a higher low on this previous dip, so we got all the way down to 11.88. Next dip was only at 12.24, so bigger move up, waiting to see where this goes, and my guess is up in the 14.7 area. Moving over to my accounts, obviously I lost money. Russell was down 87 cents, and I traded poorly in that account, which was upsetting. And then looking at the Qs, lost a little bit less than half the money there, which was good considering my positions. And really, I haven't changed them very much. Still have my 100 shares, still have a covered call for tomorrow for $1.11. It's in a small profit already, trying to collect that money. Still was able to stay profitable year to date, which is good. And then looking at the Qs, 200 shares, covered call for Monday at $4.78 for $5 credit. Still getting some money there. I did end up selling a put for tomorrow at $4.79 for 71 cents. That's in a small loser. And then I have a call there to make that a strangle at $4.79 for 73 cents. Probably should have been a little bit more aggressive to the bear side. I think markets will probably move lower tomorrow. But right now, slightly bullish. Looking to play a little bit more defense tomorrow if the sell-off continues. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the charts and the intraday reversal that we saw here today. Does that candle pattern mean anything to you, or is this just a short-term pullback and we're going to make new highs soon? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.